Life will not hand you a blueprint for your happiness, success, or fulfillment. It won't knock on your door one morning and say, here is the perfect plan for you. Just follow it. That's not how it works. Meaning, purpose, joy, these are things you must create, not things you wait for. You must take full control of the design. And that starts with the decision that you are the architect of your own life. Far too many people are passengers, not drivers. They let circumstances dictate their path. They wait for the right time, for luck, for someone else to give them an opportunity. They hope that somehow things will just get better on their own. But hope is not a strategy. Waiting is not building. If you want a life worth living, you must sit down and take complete ownership of the process. Think of life as a blank sheet of paper in front of you. On that paper, you have the freedom to draw anything. But freedom is useless if you don't pick up the pen. The moment you take responsibility for holding that pen, everything changes. You begin to see that the shape of your future is not an accident. It's the direct result of your choices, your mindset, and your actions. And if you don't take control, someone else will, a boss, the economy, your environment, or the expectations of other people. When you don't design your own life, you are forced to live in the design of others. Taking control of your design means being brutally honest with yourself. Where are you right now? Not where you pretend to be, not where others think you are, but where you truly stand. What's working? What's broken? What habits are moving you forward? And which ones are quietly destroying your potential? You cannot build a skyscraper on a foundation full of cracks. You must first see your reality for what it is, without sugarcoating, and then decide how you will rebuild it. Once you accept that responsibility, the next step is vision. If you were free from fear, if money were not an obstacle, if you could live exactly the way you wanted, what would that look like? Too often people skip this question. They make small adjustments instead of bold plans. But the truth is, if you want to live a great life, you have to design a great life, not just a slightly better version of the one you have now. You have to give yourself permission to dream bigger, because small dreams don't inspire action. Control also means prioritizing. You can't have everything, and you certainly can't do everything. The world will offer you endless distractions, invitations to spend time, money, and energy on things that don't serve your vision. And if you say yes to all of them, you'll find yourself exhausted and empty, wondering why nothing is changing. You must be willing to say no to what doesn't align with the life you're building. Every yes and every no shapes your design. And let's be clear, taking control doesn't mean the path will be smooth. In fact, when you decide to design your own life, you'll face resistance from others and from yourself. People who are comfortable with the old you might not like the new you. They'll question your decisions, your goals, and sometimes your worth. You'll battle your own doubts, wondering if you're good enough, smart enough, or lucky enough to make it happen. But that's part of the process. You can't be the architect and expect no storms. You can't build something worthwhile without getting your hands dirty. One of the biggest shifts that happens when you take control is that you stop blaming. You stop pointing at your boss, your family, the government, your past, or your circumstances. You realize that these may have influenced your life, but they do not control it. You control it. Every moment you spend blaming is a moment you could be building. Every excuse you cling to is another brick missing from your foundation. The faster you accept full ownership, the faster you gain the power to change. Taking control also requires systems. You don't build a house without a plan, measurements, and tools. The same goes for life. You need habits that keep you moving toward your vision. You need clear goals that can be measured so you know if you're on track. You need to review and adjust your design regularly because life changes and your design must adapt without losing its core purpose. And here's something most people miss: control doesn't mean rigidity. A good designer allows room for creativity, spontaneity, and growth. The goal is not to script every second of your life, but to shape the big picture so that when surprises come, and they will, they still fit within the life you want to live. It's like steering a ship. You can't control every wave, but you can control the direction. The beauty of taking control is that it turns life from something that happens to you into something you create. It gives you a sense of power, pride, and fulfillment that no amount of chance can give. Every step, every improvement, every breakthrough becomes a reflection of your own intention. You begin to walk differently. You speak differently. You live differently. But it all begins with one choice: the choice to stop waiting, stop drifting, and stop handing the pen to someone else. This is your life. No one else can live it for you. and no one else should design it for you. Take control of your design today, and you'll thank yourself for the rest of your life. Most people don't end up where they want to be because they never decided where they wanted to go in the first place. They wake up, go to work, come home, eat dinner, watch TV, and repeat, not because that's the life they chose, but because they never chose anything else. They live by default instead of by design. And the truth is, without a clear direction, you can be busy every single day and still make no real progress. Activity without direction is the slowest form of failure. If you want a life worth living, you need a target. You need to know exactly where you're heading. Without it, you're like a ship at sea without a compass, drifting, reacting to the wind, going wherever the current pushes you. And here's the danger: you might think you're moving forward, but without a destination, you could be heading in circles. Direction gives meaning to your actions. When you know where you're going, every choice becomes easier because you have a standard to measure it against. You can ask yourself, does this take me closer to my goal or further away? And that single question can save you years of wasted effort. But you can only ask that question if you've taken the time to decide what you truly want. Choosing direction is not about following what everyone else is doing. It's about finding the path that's right for you. That means silencing the noise, the voices of other people's expectations, the pressure to fit in, the fear of standing out. Too many lives are spent climbing ladders that are leaning against the wrong wall. You don't want to get to the top only to realize it wasn't where you wanted to be in the first place. When you set your direction, be bold. Don't aim for something that only excites you halfway. Aim for something that makes you sit up straighter when you talk about it. Something that challenges you, that forces you to grow. That makes the idea of quitting feel like throwing away the best part of yourself. Your direction should have enough pull to keep you moving even when the days are hard. Because they will be hard without a powerful why. You won't have the strength to push through the inevitable obstacles. One of the most important things about having direction is that it prevents you from getting lost in distraction. The world is full of shiny objects, opportunities, ideas, shortcuts that can pull you away from your real purpose. If you don't have a clearly chosen destination, you'll say yes to everything and end up exhausted, scattered, and unfulfilled. But when you know exactly where you're going, you can say no with confidence because you're not rejecting the thing. You're protecting the mission. Direction also brings focus to your time. Time is the most valuable resource you have, and it's disappearing whether you use it well or not. Without a plan, it's too easy to fill your days with tasks that keep you busy but don't move you forward. With direction, your time becomes an investment. Every hour has a purpose. Every day counts. And over the years, those focused days add up to something extraordinary. Now, setting direction is only the beginning. You have to keep checking it. Life changes. You change. Sometimes you'll realize the destination you picked no longer excites you or no longer aligns with who you're becoming. That's okay. Adjust the course. Correct the map. The important thing is to always have one. Drifting might feel easy in the moment, but it will cost you more than you can imagine in the long run. There will be people who don't understand your direction. They'll question your choices, doubt your decisions, and maybe even try to pull you back to where they are. Remember, they're not you. They don't have your dreams, your vision, your responsibilities, or your potential. Don't let someone else's lack of clarity become the reason you abandon your own. When you live with direction, life feels different. You wake up with energy because you know why you're getting out of bed. You make decisions faster because you've already chosen your path. You find meaning in the work, even when it's hard, because you're not just working, you're building something. And perhaps most importantly, you have peace because even if you're not there yet, you know you're on your way. Direction doesn't remove the storms, but it gives you the courage to keep steering through them. It turns wandering into purpose, effort into progress, and time into a legacy. And when you finally arrive at the place you set out to reach, you'll know it wasn't luck. It was intention. It was clarity. It was the power of knowing exactly where you wanted to go and having the discipline to keep going until you got there. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of the questions you ask yourself. Most people go through their days asking questions that keep them stuck. Why is this happening to me? Why don't I ever get a break? Why can't I have what they have? Questions like that put you in the role of a victim. They focus your mind on problems instead of solutions, on limitations instead of possibilities. If you want to design a life worth living, You have to ask different questions. Questions that pull you forward, that challenge you to think, that open your eyes to what's possible. You have to get honest with yourself and ask, what really matters to me? Not what's popular, not what's easy, not what the world says should matter, but what actually lights you up inside. Because if you're not clear on what matters, you'll end up chasing things that look good from the outside, but leave you empty on the inside. That's why so many people reach a goal they thought would make them happy and realize they still feel unsatisfied. They were chasing someone else's vision. Another question you must ask is, who do I want to become? Life is not just about what you have, it's about who you are. You could achieve every material goal you've ever dreamed of and still feel unfulfilled if you haven't grown into the kind of person you respect. So, picture your future self. How do they carry themselves? How do they treat people? What skills do they have? What principles do they live by? Once you know who you want to become, you can start acting in alignment with that person today. You also have to ask, what do I want my days to look like? Too many people focus only on the big milestones, the promotion, the house, the retirement, without thinking about the everyday life in between. But life isn't lived only in the big moments, it's lived in the daily routine. So, design days you actually enjoy. Decide how you want to spend your mornings, what kind of work you want to do, how you want to spend time with your family, and what activities recharge you. Because if you hate the way you spend your days, you will hate the life you've built, no matter what the destination is. Then comes the question of contribution. What do I want to give? A life worth living isn't just about what you get out of it, it's about what you put into it. You have talents, skills, and experiences that can make a difference for someone else. It doesn't always have to be grand or global. Sometimes it's as simple as helping the people around you live better, smile more, or dream bigger. But until you decide how you want to give, you'll be living with only half your potential. When you start asking yourself these questions, something powerful happens. Your mind begins to search for answers. And because your brain is always trying to solve the questions you give it, better questions lead to better answers. Instead of asking, why am I failing? You might ask, what can I learn from this? Instead of asking, when will things get better? You might ask, what can I do today to make things better? Those shifts seem small, but over time they completely change the way you live. Of course, asking these questions requires courage because the answers might force you to face truths you've been avoiding. You might realize you've been playing small. You might see that your current habits, relationships, or career path don't match the life you say you want. And that's uncomfortable. But discomfort is the doorway to growth. You can't change what you refuse to confront. Once you've asked and answered these questions, you have a foundation for every decision you make. Opportunities will come your way, and you'll be able to quickly decide whether they fit into your vision. Challenges will appear, and you'll know whether they're worth enduring based on where you're headed. Without this clarity, you're vulnerable to distraction and detours. With it, you become unstoppable because you know exactly what you're building. The wrong questions keep you stuck in the past. The right questions pull you into the future. So start asking yourself the questions that matter most. Ask them every day. Let them guide your thoughts, your actions, your decisions. And as your answers get clearer, your life will take shape, not by accident, but by design. Because when you ask better questions, you start building a better life. Every single day, you are either moving closer to the life you want or drifting further away from it. There is no neutral ground. The direction of your life is built in the small, almost invisible choices you make daily. It's easy to believe that the big moments define us. The major career moves, the big opportunities, the dramatic decisions. But in truth, those moments are rare. What really shapes your future is the consistent pattern of small actions you take when nobody is watching. Every book you choose to read or not read is a brick in your foundation. Every conversation you have or avoid influences your relationships, your opportunities, and your growth. Every morning you hit snooze instead of getting up to work on your goals is a decision to delay your own progress. These decisions might seem tiny, but they compound. A single missed day doesn't ruin you, but repeated days of neglect create a habit, and habits over time create your destiny. Discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Without discipline, even the best plans remain only plans. Without discipline, motivation fades as soon as life gets hard. But when you commit to daily actions, even when you don't feel like it, you begin to build momentum. Momentum is powerful. It works like a current. carrying you forward so that progress becomes easier. At first, you have to push yourself to start. Later, the routine itself starts pulling you toward your goals. One of the biggest lies people tell themselves is, I'll start tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes next week becomes next month, and before you know it, years have passed. The perfect day to start will never come. Conditions will never be ideal. There will always be reasons to delay, fear, uncertainty, business. But here's the truth. Success is not about perfect timing. It's about consistent action over time. The people who win are not the ones who had the easiest start, but the ones who started anyway and kept going. Daily disciplines don't have to be dramatic. In fact, they shouldn't be. You don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight. What you need is a set of simple, repeatable actions that align with your vision. If your goal is health, maybe it's 30 minutes of movement a day and avoiding certain foods. If your goal is financial freedom, maybe it's saving a fixed percentage of your income and learning about investments. If your goal is personal growth, maybe it's reading a few pages of a book each day and journaling your thoughts. These habits might feel small in the moment, but they stack up into something life-changing over time. The challenge is that daily disciplines often feel unrewarding at first. The results are invisible in the beginning. You can work out for a week and see no physical change. You can save money for a month and barely notice a difference in your account. You can practice a skill for days and still feel awkward. This is where most people quit. They want the harvest without the planting season. But if you can trust the process, if you can keep going even when results are slow, you will one day look back and be amazed at how far you've come. It's also important to remember that daily actions aren't just about doing more. They're about doing what matters. You can be disciplined in the wrong things. You can be extremely consistent in checking your phone, watching television, or working in a job that isn't leading anywhere. The key is to make sure your daily actions are in direct alignment with the life you're trying to build. Every night, ask yourself, did what I did today move me closer to my vision, or did it move me away? Life has a way of testing your commitment to your daily disciplines. There will be days when you're tired, when nothing seems to be working, when you question if it's worth it. Those days are the true test. Not the easy days when motivation is high, but the hard days when it's all about discipline. And here's the secret. Every time you show up on those days, you strengthen your character. You build resilience. You prove to yourself that you are capable of following through no matter what. Over time, your daily disciplines become your identity. You no longer have to push yourself as much because this is just what you do. And once it's part of who you are, success becomes inevitable. The person who reads every day becomes knowledgeable. The person who saves and invests consistently becomes wealthy. The person who trains their body daily becomes strong. It's not luck. It's the compound effect of simple actions done consistently. So guard your daily choices. They are not small. They are the seeds of your future. Every time you choose action over excuse, discipline over comfort, growth over stagnation, you are designing a life you will one day be proud of. Your dream is not built in a single leap. It's built one brick at a time, one habit at a time, one day at a time, until the life you once imagined is the life you're living. Too many people go through life simply trying to get through the week. They wake up on Monday counting the days until Friday as if the goal of life is just to survive the work week so they can have 2 short days of relief. But if you live like that for long enough, you'll realize you've traded away the majority of your life just trying to get to the weekend. That's not living with intention. That's living on autopilot. And autopilot always takes you to the same place, nowhere special. Living with intention means deciding that your time, your energy, and your attention will be spent on things that truly matter to you. It means not just drifting through your days, but actively shaping them so that each one moves you toward the kind of life you want to live. It's about choosing on purpose what fills your calendar, your mind, and your heart. When you work with intention, you stop asking, what do I have to do today? And start asking, what will I create today? You stop measuring your days by how quickly they pass and start measuring them by the progress you've made and the meaning you've experienced. Your job becomes more than just a paycheck. It becomes part of your purpose. Your relationships become more than just people you spend time with. They become connections you nurture, people you help grow and people who help you grow. Living with intention also means designing your habits consciously. Too many people let their routines form by accident. They watch whatever shows happen to be on, eat whatever food is easiest, scroll through their phone because it's there, and work however long someone else tells them to. But intention asks you to step back and decide what habits are actually worth keeping, which ones are stealing your energy and your focus, which ones are helping you create the future you want. When you live intentionally, you also stop confusing being busy with being productive. You realize that not every opportunity is a good one. You don't say yes to every invitation, project, or request just because you can. Every yes costs you something: time, energy, focus. And if you're giving those things away to the wrong people or the wrong projects, you won't have anything left for the things that truly matter. That's why intention often requires learning to say no without guilt. You're not rejecting the person, you're protecting your purpose. Working with intention also changes the way you see challenges. When you're drifting, obstacles feel like personal attacks, random problems that slow you down. But when you have purpose, you see them differently. They're no longer meaningless frustrations. They're part of the journey. They're tests to make you stronger, smarter, and more prepared for the next stage of your life. Intention turns problems into teachers. Another thing intention does is force you to bring more presence into your life. You stop rushing through your days as if you're trying to get somewhere else. Instead, you find value in the moment you're in. You start to notice the details: the conversation with a friend, the feeling of accomplishment after finishing a project, the beauty of a quiet morning. You realize that life isn't something that will happen someday when you finally reach all your goals. Life is happening now. Living and working with intention isn't about perfection. You'll still have days that don't go as planned, moments when you waste time, and times when you slip back into old habits. The point isn't to be flawless. It's to keep coming back to your purpose and making decisions that align with it. Every time you do that, you take back control from the chaos and give it to the vision you're building. When you live with intention, you don't just hope your life turns out well. You make sure of it. You build work that fulfills you instead of drains you. You choose relationships that lift you instead of weigh you down. You create habits that strengthen you instead of weaken you. You spend your time in ways that you will be proud of when you look back years from now. And perhaps the greatest gift of intention is peace. When you live this way, you can go to bed at night knowing you didn't waste the day. You can wake up in the morning with excitement, knowing you're not just going through the motions. You are building something that matters. You are living by design, not by default. And that is the difference between existing and truly living. Designing a life worth living will never be a comfortable process. It will demand things from you that you've never had to give before. It will push you into situations where you're uncertain, nervous, or even afraid. And that's exactly how it should be. Growth does not come from comfort. Comfort is the slow death of ambition. If you want something extraordinary, you have to be willing to step into discomfort and stay there long enough to grow into the person who can handle it. The moment you decide to aim higher, you'll discover that not everyone will cheer you on. Some people will misunderstand you. They might say you've changed, and you have. They might accuse you of thinking you're better than them. And it's not about being better, it's about becoming better. When you start making decisions based on your vision instead of their approval, you'll find that some people fade from your life. This isn't a tragedy. It's a natural part of growth. Not everyone is meant to walk every mile of your journey with you. You will also face the temptation to go back to what's familiar, the old routines, the old habits, the old circle of friends. They're comfortable because they don't challenge you. But you can't become the person you're meant to be while holding on tightly to the person you used to be. Letting go is painful, but it's the price of progress. If you want to climb higher, you have to release what's weighing you down. There will be days when you question yourself, days when nothing seems to work, when the results don't come fast enough, when you feel tired of the fight. These are the moments that separate the dreamers from the doers. Most people quit when things get uncomfortable. They convince themselves it wasn't the right time, or it wasn't meant to be, or that they'll try again later. But later becomes never. The truth is, success doesn't come to those who wait for the perfect conditions. It comes to those who keep moving through imperfect ones. You have to learn to make friends with discomfort. Discomfort means you're stretching beyond your current capacity. It means you're building new skills, new habits, new ways of thinking. And the more you do it, the more your threshold for discomfort grows. What once felt impossible will one day feel normal. That's how transformation works. Slowly, quietly, through the small, uncomfortable steps you take again and again. Embracing the struggle also means accepting that mistakes and failures are part of the process. You cannot avoid them, so you might as well use them. Every setback contains information about what doesn't work, about where you need to improve, about what you can do differently next time. People who run from failure run from growth, but those who face it, study it, and learn from it come back stronger and wiser. Another part of this journey is resisting the lure of the easy path. The world is full of shortcuts and quick fixes, ways to look successful without doing the real work. But those shortcuts lead to shallow results. They don't build character, and they don't last. Real success, the kind you can be proud of, comes from the hard road, the one that tests your patience, your focus, and your commitment. And don't underestimate the emotional side of this. When you leave behind comfort, you also leave behind the safety of certainty. You're walking into a future you haven't experienced before. That can feel lonely. It can feel like you're in the dark. But if you trust the process, you'll start to notice something. The dark isn't empty. It's full of opportunities you never saw when you were standing still. The reward for embracing the struggle isn't just achieving your goals. It's becoming the kind of person who can handle whatever life throws at you. You develop resilience, patience, and an unshakable belief in your own ability to figure things out. You stop being afraid of challenges because you've faced enough of them to know you can survive and even thrive on the other side. So if you're feeling discomfort right now, take it as a sign you're on the right path. Don't run from it. Lean into it. Let it shape you. The life you want is hiding behind the work you're afraid to do. The conversations you're avoiding and the challenges you'd rather skip, face them anyway, because when you embrace the struggle, you discover that the very thing you thought would break you is the thing that builds you. When it's all said and done, the real question is simple. Will your life be a masterpiece or an accident? Will it be something you shaped with intention and effort, or something that just happened to you because you never took the time to decide what you wanted? A masterpiece doesn't happen by luck. It's the result of vision, discipline, and patience. And when you commit to living that way, your life becomes something worth remembering. Not just by others, but by you. A masterpiece is rare because most people are too busy reacting to life instead of creating it. They spend their energy on whatever comes their way. The next bill, the next deadline, the next distraction. They let the years pass without ever stopping to ask, is this the life I want to be living? And because they never ask, they never change. But if you want your life to be more than a collection of random events, you have to step back, take the long view, and design something that matters. Think about an artist working on a great painting. Every stroke has a purpose, even the smallest details placed with care. The artist doesn't rush the process. They stand back often, looking at the whole picture, making adjustments, refining the work. That's how you should approach your life. Every choice you make, how you spend your mornings, the people you surround yourself with, the work you commit to, the values you stand for, is a stroke on the canvas. Over time, those choices create an image that tells your story. And like any great work of art, a masterpiece is built over time. You can't create it in a day or even in a year. It's the accumulation of years of focused effort, of learning from mistakes, of improving as you go. There will be times when you look at your progress and feel frustrated, when the picture doesn't look like you imagined. That's normal. Every artist knows the early stages are messy, but if you keep working, the mess starts to take shape. A life that's a masterpiece is not perfect. In fact, the imperfections give it depth and character. The struggles you've faced, the failures you've endured, the lessons you've learned, they all become part of the beauty. A painting without shadows looks flat. A life without challenges lacks strength. The key is not to avoid the dark moments, but to use them to add richness to your story. Building a masterpiece also requires knowing what you want it to represent. What do you want people to see when they look at the life you've lived? Do you want them to see courage, kindness, excellence, creativity, love, perseverance? You can't include everything, but you can choose the values that matter most to you and make them the dominant colors in your work. That way, no matter what else changes, the core of your life remains true to who you are. One of the most rewarding parts of creating a life worth remembering is the legacy it leaves. Your masterpiece doesn't end when your time does. It continues through the people you've influenced, the lessons you've shared, the example you've set. Even if your name is never known by the world, your life will leave marks that outlast you. The kindness you showed, the help you gave, the standards you set, those things ripple outward far beyond what you can see. But Here's the most important part. You can't wait until the end to start creating this life. You can't wake up at 70 and decide you want to make something beautiful. By then, you'll be painting with whatever strokes you've been practicing all along. The time to start is now, with the resources you have, the opportunities in front of you, and the discipline to make each day count. If you look at your life right now and it feels like a jumble of random strokes, don't get discouraged. Every artist starts with a blank or messy canvas. The masterpiece comes from deciding from this moment forward that every new choice will serve the vision you want to create, that you will no longer waste your time on things that don't belong in the picture, that you will focus on adding value, beauty, meaning, and purpose to everything you do. One day, you'll look back at the life you've built. You'll see the colors of joy, the texture of challenges overcome, the depth of relationships, the details of your values lived out in real actions. And in that moment, you won't feel regret. You'll feel gratitude because you didn't let life happen to you. You made it happen. You didn't leave it to chance. You crafted it like the masterpiece it was always meant to be. And that is the mark of a life well lived.